Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. You may remember we created these paint resist backgrounds way back when. I'll link to that video in the description down below in case you don't remember what that was all about. And today I think I'm going to have a play with a couple of these and put some more layers on. I think this one is sort of saying different things to me. It's got a bit more depth in the colour. So I think for today, I'm interested in these two, which have got a sort of springtime mistiness to them. And yeah, I've grabbed a couple of my stamp sets, the grasses and the lavender, because I've also got out some lavender stems, some dried, well, yeah, it's mostly dried, gypsophila, and yeah, these little Tim Holtz, brilliant. These are eccentric, but there are several sets that have these little tiny labels and numbers and all of that kind of business on. And I think that's where I'm sort of starting today, because we've got one layer in the paint resist, we got another layer with the blended inks, we got another layer with the spritzing and flicking of the water. So they're building up to quite nice depth. That's one of my PaperArtsy stamps with Shakespeare, obviously, with my Shakespeare connection. That is a Tim Holtz lettering stamp, and they both make beautiful resists. And one of the things you'll remember I said I love about the paint resist is, rather than an embossing resist, which can be quite full on, this gives you a lovely weathered kind of background, faded, aged sort of look, which makes me very happy. So I'm going to just grab a couple of these little detail stamps and do yeah, another layer or two. I've got a couple of Archival Inks here because I want whatever I'm doing at this point to stay put, but I want it quite subtle. So this is, in fact, coincidentally, they're all Wendy Vecchi colours that I've got on the mat today. I've got Potting Soil, Night Sky, Acorn and Watering Can, and I'm just using them to add a little bit of blue, grey and brown stamping. You know me, you can't beat the happy colours. When you know where you're happy, why not stick with it? Yeah, I'm pulling these out pretty much at random and just adding a little bit of extra detailing in these already rather beautiful backgrounds. I can see that I'm heading for sort of left and right today. It seems to be happening. Let's see, there's quite a nice tall list of numbers here. Maybe we want something round. Let's have something round. There's a lovely postmark kind of affair, so we'll attach that to there and attach that to there. And yeah, for now I'm going to leave that because I can always add a bit more of that later, but that's already making me fairly happy. I think I want some of these sort of heading up the background, so I'm going to make those quite subtle as well. Maybe potting soil, or maybe some more watering can. Maybe we'll keep these as a layer, quite similar to, yes, it does just fit onto that grid block. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to stick to the watering can, so that these grasses are going to be part of the background in the same sort of way as those detail stamps are. Yeah, see, that's lovely and subtle, isn't it? It's definitely one of my happy stamps. It definitely just adds that little something. So I've gone left on one side, so you know I'm going to go down the right on the other. Because this is a more full-on tag, that's even more sort of subliminal there. But that's fine, and as I want it at the moment. These are backgrounds. My focal point, hopefully, are going to be some real flower stems. So I don't want too much going on in these backgrounds, but I want that kind of poetic depth, that kind of sense of, yeah, a joy going on in the background. I'm just wondering about adding this little one, which is a lovely label, lovely square label on here. It's going to need a little trimming. So I used these sets in a workshop. So my used set is now my workshop set. So I'm starting a brand new set, which is why those just needed a little trim. So PaperArtsy, hand trim all their stamps. So occasionally, like that, because I'm trying to cram so many stamps onto one set, occasionally they're so close together that you have to do a little bit of extra trimming yourself. But as you saw, it's a very easy thing to do. So I'm just quite interested in the square frame of this and what that'll give me as part of a background. So in the way that I've got that circle giving me a geometric shape, I'm quite interested in that square shape just giving me a detail. And I think what I want to do with that, here's a nice thing, is in order to get that to be a little more prominent, I'm going to take, hold your horses, right, here we go. So I've got the Shark Mattint, and I'm just going to pop a touch of that down there and use a brush to create a different presence for this. It might take a couple of layers because the Mattints, as you know, are very sheer and very delicate, but the joy of them is they're completely transparent, so that as I build up the layers, I'm not going to lose any of that detail stamping there. So let's pop a little bit here. So I'm just filling in that label. Let it dry just a little, and then I can come in with another layer. And now I hope you can see that's starting to shift the colour of the label against the background so that it's just becoming its own thing. I could do this by stamping it as a piece of ephemera on a completely separate piece of paper, cut it out, stick it on. But at the moment, I just want to see what this looks like. Taking a little journey, having a little play. So just building up the layers. And what I quite like about that, if I stuck on a whole new piece of ephemera, I'd lose those flower stems there. And especially on this one, I've still got Shakespeare's folio layered in the background of that label. But in a minute we'll have a look at it. Maybe we should stamp it while that's drying so that I can put on one more layer. We could stamp it on a separate bit of paper and just look at it on a separate bit of paper as well. Right, let's stamp it just to see. I'm going to try and avoid that shark that is sitting there. I don't want to get it on there. Now I've lost my watering can. So in terms of, have I gone wrong? No, I'm still experimenting. I don't know which of these I'm going to prefer. I'll have a quick trim of those. And the other thing I can do is, if I want these not quite so bright white, so this is the thing I was just debating in my head, whether to do it before or after. Let's get that brush back. Dry it up a little. Is I can use that Mattint to create a sort of soft blue, grey blue, which, as you know, is my favourite kind of a blue. My favourite kind of a grey is to have them mixed. So there you can see the subtlety of that Mattint going on. Just giving me, as soon as I go the second layer, I get a bit more colour. Grand. So let's trim those and take a look at those on the tag. See which it is that we want to have. It's all options. It's all possibilities. None of them are right. None of them are wrong. They're all just options. And as it happens, I do quite like that. Let's have a look on the other. So it was worth a try, that background stamping. I mean, I do love that you can get that layered look, but because we've got lots going on in that background, it's maybe quite nice. It's maybe quite nice to have one element that has got a bit more presence, a bit more to say. And at the moment, I also quite like it sticking off the edge. I might go a little further in therefore, so that it's not sticking off quite so much. At the moment, I really like that. So before I stick it down, I think I want to do the stamping that I've planned of these lavender stems, because we've got lavender stems in 3D. I think I want lavender stems in 2D as well. And I was thinking I might stamp them in night sky. So that'll be a nice blue look against this blue we've already got going on. So this is Uncharted Mariner on here. So this will be a slightly different blue. But what I could do is, if I get the night sky on there so that I know I've got a nice archival bit of imagery, I could add a bit of Uncharted Mariner in places. And then if I were to spritz, I'd get kind of additional movement from that Uncharted Mariner going places. Oh, yeah, see, that's already made me happy. So I'm going to stick to simplicity. I'm going to stick to, I might not end up putting any flower stems on here at all, real ones, because that's already given me quite a lot of joy. Now on this one, as we know, it's a much busier background, and so what I might make sure I've got hanging around is some clear embossing powder, just in case I want to give this a bit of a boost once it's on there. I'm going to aim for the paler bit of the tag. It's going right over the paint resist, but that's going to be fine. I kind of like how subliminal it is. What I'm going to do is finish off my stems down here. So one of the things, if your lavender stems are not quite long enough, I tend to go back in just upside down, just kind of eyeball it to join them up. And it's not a proper join, but the eye will be deceived, I promise. What I have got is some Uncharted Mariner embossing glaze, actually, haven't I? But because I haven't dried anything else on the background there, it will just take over. It'll hit everything. So for the moment, I'm going to stick with those being quite subtle in the background. So at the moment, this tag is really working for me. This one, I'm not so sure, just because there's so much going on in the background that the things I've done haven't quite headed forward in the way that I would like. Let's have some more lavender on it. Let's maybe go with a whole extra trio, or I've designed this so that you can very easily get rid of either the individual or the double, so that you've then got a different combination of flower heads. I like them down there. I do wish they were a bit more prominent. I'm going to try grabbing. Here we are, back again, hopefully in enough time to get some Uncharted Mariner Distress Embossing Glaze onto these dark ones here. And as I say, I know it's probably going to hit everything that I've been stamping so far. Oh no, it hasn't. Partly because these are Archival Inks, so they do dry more quickly. Not quite sure what that big lump is about in the middle, so let's just try knocking it off. Yeah, that worked. And maybe seeing that there, maybe I do want to try and offer it up here as well. Let's just send a little bit down past those lavender stems. Grand. I'm going to take it off here, so it's slightly stuck here, and I'm going to take it off those grasses as well. Just as always, as you know, with a little brush I've usually got nearby. So I'm going to take it off these numbers because I want those to stay in the background. I'm going to take it off these grasses because I want those to stay in the background. Doesn't really matter about this because I'm going to stick something over it, but just catching those places where I don't feel I want additional embossing powder. Little flick tap. Let's see what we've got here. I think this one, interestingly, these seemed, oh no, there is a little bit on those grasses. Look, let's get rid of that. There's nothing on there because I stamped that so long ago. There we go. Let's just clean things up around the stems here so it's not too strong. There we go. Beautiful. Grand. I'm going to emboss that with my heat tool and I'll be back in a sec. As I hope you can see, that Distress Embossing Glaze has just given those stems a little more presence, even in the busy tag. This one I absolutely adore at the moment. This one is now growing on me because I've got that extra little bit of depth to it. It's got a kind of, and am I still enjoying these labels here, or do I prefer them subliminal? Part of the question, part of the answer to that question will come in whether I am or I am not adding real flower stems to the mix. And I think I probably am. I don't know whether I'm still going to add real lavender stems to the mix because I'm enjoying those 2D lavender stems. So I think we might save the lavender stems for another day. And we might have a little play at layering little sprigs of this gypsophila. These just came in a flower bouquet, and I just, at the point when the flower bouquet was dying, pulled these out, put them in a little jam jar and let them just dry off. People often ask me if I'm doing anything special when I'm drying flowers. No, I'm not. And I'm also not expecting these to last forever. This is not art for the ages I'm creating. This is ephemeral little bits of magic, hopefully. I want a slightly taller stem, so I'm going to just try and trim those, see if I can get this to head off up there. Quite like that. Let's see if we can get this one heading off up there. Quite like that. Let's pop this down here. So I'm really getting a meadow grass kind of feel to these layers. Still mostly enjoying Albert Firstel. Yeah, I do like that. There's maybe a bit too much of this going on. So let's see what happens. I'm now thinking that I'm going to try and mount Albin, beg his pardon, Albin Firstel on some padded tape so that these can kind of tuck in behind. Yeah, perfect. Let's grab the padded tape. Back in a sec. So you start out thinking a video is going to be simple and quick and I'll just be here a few minutes, like a few minutes of fun. And then the journey just takes you. And at that point, you have to kind of just go, yeah, I am interested in what's happening now. So he's going up a little way, mounted on just these padded squares. I do have some padded tape somewhere, but at the moment it's eluding me. I mean tape on a reel, like basic sellotape, but padded. But these little squares will do the job. So just peeling those off, just very simply sticking them down. And as you can see, because I've got the squares, I can tuck this in between the squares, and that's giving me quite a nice effect, I think. Quite enjoying, yes. Do I want a slightly taller one going down here? You go in between, please. Yeah, I quite like the stem coming out below. Yes, little bits fall off. They're dried flowers. It's going to happen. That's really quite pleasing to me, as it is. I don't know that I want anything else to happen. Maybe a little tiny sprig, because I've got these little tiny sprigs coming out sideways, just joining up, pretending it's part of that sprig. And same thing here, because this tag is a little emptier. Yeah. So in terms of additional glue for these, I'm not going to do much. I think we're just going to give you a little bit down the stem here and on that flower head and that flower head, in the hopes that those are making contact with the tag. Yeah, that one was, and then I moved it. Let's just pick that up. There we are. This one, slide out again. So again, just a little bit going down the stem there. A little bit on those flower heads that are maybe making contact with the tag. I'm going to try and slide it in without touching too much of that glue to the surface. Yeah, that didn't work. But it's all good. I'll remove it with that little brush. I mean, it's not going anywhere because it's tucked down behind there. But here, I will put a bit of glue under that stem and then press into action one of my trusty clothes pegs just while that's drying. Just clamp it down. Very good. Same thing going on here. A little bit on this stem. A little bit on these flower heads. Slide it between the raised pads. Another great dollop of glue onto the background. Not to worry. And then again, just with you, it's a little bit of contact there. A little bit of contact there. And we could do another clothes peg. It's going to need to be quite one of the dainty clothes pegs to get down onto that. And then just remove that bit of glue. Right, so while that glue is drying, I'm just going to have a look and see what kind of words I might want to add to these. Just debating, just looking, just gazing. While I'm gazing, I think what I want is a little bit of spatter. And rather than snowflake, I think for once it might be a little bit of Cloud 9 that I'm after, which is just a slightly warmer white than snowflake. So it's just got a bit more of the tone of that Gypsophila flower. A little bit onto the labels as well. Yes, I like that. And again, that's pollen, motes of dust just catching the sunlight in the air. Oh, yes, happy, very happy. Lots of paint on the mat there. Let's just pick that up onto something. We've got something lying around that we can put that on. Yeah, come here. A little bit of background. Oh, in fact, a little bit of design paper. Might want that a little bit less designy. So if I give it a little coat of paint, knock it back, that gives me a much softer kind of background look to that. That'll do. Grand. Time to find some words. Obviously there are word stamps on my stamp sets. I've got what's in with the lavender: peace, calm, healing, all good words to want to use at this time. Healing, strength, calm. Maybe we dot some of those in the background there. Oh, I've just spotted my postcard stamp. And this lovely round one. So there's a lovely round ephemera here. Yeah, I think let's have one of those. Let's have one of those in, ooh, I don't know. So here I am thinking about words and I've gone off piste again. Let's move these clothes pegs because they're not going to make stamping flat any easier. I think we'll go in potting soil for this. And I'm just thinking I want that extra bit of round detailing maybe here. And again, on this tag it's almost subliminal. On this tag it's going to be a bit more present. Oh, I love that. I love that. So much so that I'm going to have another bit of it up here. And I'm going to have another bit of it down here. So those partial stampings just create magic somehow. It's because the eye knows there's something else to happen. The eye is put in a position of suspense and longing to see the rest. Wants to know what's going on off the tag. So it kind of draws the eye outwards, draws the imagination outwards, lets you know there's more going on in the world than just what's on the tag. So as I was saying, I've got words on my stamp sets, and maybe it is that. Maybe I mean, it would have to be embossed. We could do a direct stamping of something like the word calm right in there, emboss it with something like vanilla embossing powder, vanilla white, and I think that would be rather beautiful. But I also, you know, I've got all these amazing word stickers. Originally I had thought of using some of these lovely quote chips, but I think now that I've stuck this label, I think maybe it'll be too close of an echo, or maybe it's really nice. I'm not thinking of these actual words at the moment. I'm just having a look what I think of having it there. So if it's a rectangle, it's going to directly echo that label. Sometimes the heart sees what is invisible to the eye. I love the words of that, but I'm sort of feeling it's covering up too much lavender. It's covering up too much of that lovely paint resist background. Let's have a quick look at an oval one, in case. It's often the simple that creates the marvellous. Well, that's an appropriate sort of a saying for a tag that really is very simple. No, I think they're too much. I think they're too much. There's too much else going on, so I don't think it's those today. But it was worth a try. It was worth a look. It's detracting from both the flowers in the background and our lovely little label. Not what we're after. I just also happened to catch sight of these paper dolls as I was playing around. I had to put these in an extra bag because this pack of paper dolls is so full. These are the groups. Oh, so as the groups, they're going to cover up too much tag. But let's just, since they're here, let's just have a look at a paper doll involved with this. So if I were able to get them back behind there. No, another day, another dollar. Maybe it's worth having a look at an individual paper doll. In fact, I've got the little paper dolls all in their own separate. They'd have to go straight over that label, which would be a pity. Let's have a look at you. Oh, you're rather enchanting. That's got a sort of magic Alice in Wonderland feel about it because the figures are so tiny and the flowers are so big. Let's have a look at you. No, again, because they weren't in my brain to start with, there isn't really a good position to put them, I think, without covering up too much of what's already been going on. I do enjoy them because they bring such character and such personality, but I don't think it's today. I think that's another set of tags. I think it's probably just something quite simple up there. I do want a little metallic accent, I think, and that's going to be simple as a little number brad. I think a little number brad doing something like that is going to make me happy. Let's see, 7 and 16, 2, number 2, number 16. So that's one little thought. And to just let those numbers sing or come into the eye, I'm going to use my Distress crayon, wind it up to get some of that lovely waxy crayon out. And I'm just going to rub it over the top of there, getting the crayon down into the number. And then I can just wipe over the top to clean the top surface, leaving my number beautifully revealed in Picket Fence Distress crayon. Let's get the number 2 also nice and visible. So that I used to do this with acrylic paint, and you can still do this with acrylic paint. Get the paint down in, same process, paint down into the number and then just wipe across the surface. In the end, I decided it's just less messy, the Distress crayon method. Right, I'm gonna use a little brad awl to just create a hole here for this one. Number 2. Down it goes. And I don't really know what it was. I can't tell you the why of that. I can just tell you I wanted it. My heart wanted it. It's what wanted to happen just there under Albin Firstel. That one's quite close to the label, so I might leave it. Oh, see, it could go over the top. No, I want it tucked down underneath. Or do I? Let's just close it and see what we've got. So that's just a little brad on the back. It just unfolds to stay in position. Let's clean up that number 1. Escaping Distress Crayon. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then words. I think it's going to be as simple as maybe some clipping stickers or the small talk stickers. So I'm going to have a look, find those, and then when they're on, I'm just going to have a look and see, just some blank paper since it's here, whether I maybe want to mount these onto some plain card. I think I'm going to quite enjoy that if I do that. So yeah, I will mount these onto some card. You'll have to come back for the close-ups to find out which words I've chosen. There you are, how's that for suspense? But I hope you've enjoyed seeing those paint resist backgrounds, just taking a few extra steps into 3 dimensions. Join me for the close-ups at the end. Thank you so much, as always, for your company on this creative journey. If you've enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up. That helps. If you haven't yet subscribed, I would love to have your full-time company on this journey. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today's tag time. I'll try to leave as many details in the description down below of what we've used here, as well as the link to those resist backgrounds video episode. And happy crafting all.